Hello everyone, welcome to Vinam Guidance. This is Dr. Anuja Sharma, and in this video we're going to talk about NMR spectroscopy, which is also known as nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy or magnetic resonance spectroscopy. So let's get started. Now, magnetic resonance spectroscopy or NMR spectroscopy, it is basically the study of molecules based on or by recording the interaction of radio frequency electromagnetic radiation with the nuclei of that particular molecule, and this is done under a strong external magnetic field. So for nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, you require radio frequency electromagnetic radiation which are absorbed by the nuclei of a particular molecule, and that has to happen under a strong magnetic field. So NMR spectroscopy, it basically exploits the magnetic properties of a particular molecule, and it also deals or it also records the spin changes occurring in that particular nuclei of that molecule. So these are the two important things to keep in mind. Magnetic properties of a particular molecule are exploited, that are used for NMR spectroscopy, and also spin changes that occur during the absorption of radio frequency electromagnetic radiation that are also recorded during NMR spectroscopy. Now these spin changes occur when a particular molecule or the nuclei of a particular molecule, they absorb electromagnetic radiation of radio frequency. So when they absorb radiation in this particular range, this particular wavelength, only then these spin changes occur which are recorded during NMR spectroscopy. Now any kind of technique which is based on nuclear magnetic resonance, for example NMR spectroscopy, which can be high resolution liquid state or solid state NMR spectroscopy, or MRI, which is magnetic resonance imaging, they're all based on the same principle of nuclear magnetic resonance, which means that a nuclei or a group of nuclei of atoms which have magnetic properties. So they should have magnetic properties when they are placed or they are present under an external magnetic field. These nuclei, these molecules, these nuclei, they can be distributed over various energy levels. So they can move from a ground state energy level to an excited state energy level. So they can move through different energy levels, and this happens under an external magnetic field, and this happens because of this whole movement to different energy levels. This is going to depend on the orientation of the magnetic movement of that particular nuclei of atoms, depending on the strength of the external magnetic field. Another two things to keep in mind is that all the nuclei, they are electrically charged and they may have spin. So for nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, or for NMR spectroscopy to actually work, the nuclei of the particular atom, they should have a spin. They should be spinning around an axis, okay, and they're all electrically charged, plus they should have magnetic properties, because that is what is exploited during NMR spectroscopy. Now let's talk about the basic principle behind NMR spectroscopy. So any nuclei of a particular atom, under the influence of external magnetic field, it is going to exist in a specific nuclear spin state, and it is going to spin around a particular axis. Now under the influence of an external magnetic field, any nuclei, it is going to absorb electromagnetic radiation corresponding to its particular isotope, and when it is NMR active. For example, it can be 1H or 13C, and this resonant frequency, the energy of the radiation that it is going to absorb, or the intensity of the signal, the NMR signal, it all depends on the strength of the external magnetic field under which the particular nuclei of the atom is placed. Now let's consider a nuclei. For example, this is a nuclei and it's spinning on its own axis. Now under the influence of an external magnetic field, when this particular nuclei is placed under an external magnetic field, it is going to move to a precessional orbit with precessional frequency, which means there is going to be a change in the orientation of the axis on which this particular nucleus is spinning. So if you can see, there is a change in the orientation of the axis under the influence of an external magnetic field. But remember, this nucleus, it is still in a ground state. It is in a ground state, but there is a change in the orientation of its axis. Now this particular nucleus, when it absorbs electromagnetic radiation, now in any case a nucleus under the influence of external magnetic field, it is going to absorb radiation of a wavelength that matches the radio frequency electromagnetic radiation. So it is going to absorb in that particular range. Now when it absorbs radio frequency, there is a chance that there can be an energy gap, and it can move from a low energy state to a high energy state. So it can move from a ground state to a high energy state or an excited state. And along with the movement from the ground state to the excited state or the higher energy state, there is going to be a change in the direction of the spin. So it is going to spin in an anti-parallel or in an opposite direction, as you can see. Now if we look at it in a reverse order, if you remove the electromagnetic radiation, if you remove the absorption of radio waves, this particular nucleus, it is still going to be, there is going to be a change in the orientation, but it is going to come back to the ground state. It cannot stay in the excited state. However, it can still stay in precessional orbit or precessional with the precessional frequency. So there is going to be a change in the orientation of the axis, but if you remove the radiation, it is going to come back to the ground state. So both magnetic field, the external magnetic field is required, and also the absorption of radio frequency is required for a particular nucleus to move to the higher state. And when this particular nucleus, it moves from ground state to the higher state with an energy gap, it is going to produce an NMR signal, and this NMR signal can be recorded with highly efficient radio instruments. So it can be recorded, this NMR signal, and it can be interpreted into an NMR spectrum. So this NMR signal can be used to generate an NMR spectrum, which can be used to identify particular molecules or atoms. It can be used to identify the different groups which are present in a molecule or in a compound. So both the absorption of radio frequency and the presence of magnetic field, they both required for NMR spectroscopy to actually work, because NMR signal cannot be generated without radio frequency, without the absorption of radio frequency. Now another thing to remember is that for NMR spectroscopy to occur, the spin of a particular nuclei has to be more than 0. It cannot be 0, because if the spin, which is represented as I, is 0, that particular nuclei is going to be invisible to NMR spectroscopy. Now for any nuclei at a particular spin, there are two spin states that exist. One is spin up state and the other one is spin down state. So for example, the spin, which is represented as I, is half for a particular nuclei. It is going to have a plus half spin state and a minus half spin state. Now one of these spin state plus half is going to align with the magnetic field, and the other one is going to oppose the magnetic field, the external magnetic field. So at any particular in the presence of any particular external magnetic field, there are going to be two spin states for a particular nuclei. Now let's have a look at this picture with B, which is the external magnetic field on x-axis, and energy of the radiation on y-axis, or energy on the y-axis. Now if you look at the energy gap between the two spin states, the energy difference is represented as mu into Bx divided by I. Mu is the specific magnetic moment of the particular nuclei in question. Bx is the external magnetic field which is applied to that particular nuclei, and I is the spin of that nuclei. So delta E, the energy difference, is represented as this. Now the energy difference is going to increase with the increase in the external magnetic field, but this energy gap is always extremely small. Okay. So in order to increase the energy gap between these two spin states, you're going to require a very strong external magnetic field in order to increase this energy gap, because the energy gap is going to, or the difference in energy is going to increase with the strength of the external magnetic field. So for this reason, for NMR spectroscopy to actually work, strong NMR magnets are required to increase this energy gap. Now Why this energy gap between these two spin states is important when the particular nuclei is under the influence of an external magnetic field? That's because when the nuclei is irradiated with a particular energy that matches the energy gap between these two spin states. So when the energy of the radiation absorbed by the nuclei, it is equal to the energy gap between these two spin states, the spin up and spin down. Only then that particular nuclei is going to move from that lower state, from the lower energy state to the higher energy state, or we can say from the lower state to the excited state, which is going to lead to the generation of this NMR circle. That's why this energy gap is this significant for NMR spectroscopy to actually work. And to increase this energy gap, you require strong NMR magnets, because you require a strong external magnetic field. Now, under a magnetic field, in most of the cases, the resonance frequency which is absorbed by a particular nuclei, it generally matches with the radio frequency of electromagnetic radiation. Next, let's talk about the chemical shift. Now, a subsequent absorbed frequency by a nucleus, even if they have the same magnetic moment, it's not always constant. So the absorbed frequency is not always constant for a particular nucleus. Now, this is because there is a particular term, nuclear shielding, a particular phenomena that can occur for a particular nucleus, and this depends on its electronic environment. So the electrons surrounding the nucleus, they can shield the nucleus from external magnetic field. This is known as nuclear shielding by electrons. Now what happens, these electrons, they can affect or they can influence the magnetic field of a particular nucleus. They can change the surrounding magnetic field of a nucleus, and the magnetic field is usually reduced or lowered by these electrons. Now this results in, the nucleus, even with the same magnetic moment, they are going to have different electronic environment. They are going to have different number of electrons surrounding them. This leads to different kinds of nuclear shielding. So the nucleus having the same magnetic moment but different electronic environment are going to be nuclear shielded differently as compared to the other nucleus with the same magnetic moment. Now this differentiation of nucleus based on their different electronic environment and different type of nuclear shielding resulting to different magnetic field, external magnetic field, this can be used for the identification of different groups and structure present in a particular compound or molecule by NMR spectroscopy. Now since the nucleus with same magnetic moment, with same type, with different electronic environment, they're going to be more or less nuclear shielded as compared to each other. This different electronic environment, this difference in electronic environment is known as the chemical shift, and it is used for the identification of different groups and groups in a particular compound or particular molecule.